What's going on, guys? Ryno Bones here with a quick unboxing and review thing. Today I've got something really exciting. I've actually been using it for a little under a month now, and I figure, you know what, it's time to just come out and say, the NexiGo N950P is pretty awesome. So what do you get in the box? Well, you get a USB-C to USB-A cable to connect to the PC. We've also got a USB-C to USB-C cable, just in case you want to go that route, so you got your options there. We've got this nifty little manual here with lots of different languages. It walks you through the NexiGo software. It tells you how to adjust your settings, and it tells you how to use the remote. Next thing out of the box is the remote. We've got the volume rocker there for the microphone to turn it up and turn it down. We've got the brightness rocker there to turn up and turn down your brightness. We've got a backlight compensation button. We've got zoom in and zoom out. We've got pan and tilt. The home button returns everything to the normal settings. We've got 50 Hertz versus 60 Hertz there. Change it depending on whatever region you happen to be in. We've got pause the video. We've got mute the audio. And we got the power button to turn the whole thing off. And the last thing out of the box, of course, is the device itself. Now, I've already got it set up. The video you've been watching this entire time has been being recorded by the 950p here from NexiGo. And yeah, I'm not going to disconnect it right now, so let's roll some B-roll footage while I talk about the specs. The N950p is NexiGo's second Zoom-certified webcam. It can do 480p at 30 frames per second, 1080p at 30 frames per second, and 2K at 30 frames per second. All of the video you've watched up to this point has been recorded from the 2K setting, but it's been downsampled to fit on my 1080p screen. Under the hood, we've got an 8.5 megapixel Sony Starvis sensor. It can do 5 times digital zoom, and we will be getting into that in just a few moments. Another cool feature are the built-in dual stereo microphones with noise cancellation. Helps you get clear audio from just about any angle. One of my favorite parts of this, of course, is the remote. You can control basically every feature from the N950p using the remote without having to adjust any settings. Another little feature I know that is important to a lot of people is the privacy shield. You just attach it to the top of the unit and you flip it down to hide your video. There you go. And now's the part of the video where we actually do some testing. So we're going to start off here with the zoom. And you can see it kind of zoomed right in on my face. That's because there is actually a little preset thing going on here in the remote and the camera. So wherever you left it off last time, that's where it's going to zoom into the next time. So if you want to make sure that you zoom directly into your face, be sure you set it up ahead of time. That way it'll go to the right place instead of like your chest or the wall or whatever. So yeah, you can go off to the left and you can go off to the right. You can stand up, sit down, fight, fight, fight. You got up and you got down. Let me recenter just in case I have to zoom in again. And then back out. Next thing I want to test out here is the blackout button. And the reason I know it's a blackout button is because, well, you guys might notice the camera's at a slightly different angle. I used the blackout button, did a whole little spiel, then I used the privacy screen right there and I knocked the whole thing off of my desk. So at least now, not only do we know that the privacy shield works, but we know that this thing can withstand a fall to the floor. But just for your reference, well, there you go. I have now pressed the pause the video button, which doesn't actually pause it. It actually blacks it out. And honestly, I think that's a lot cooler because I would hate to have it paused at something like... because that would just be horrible and it would be obnoxious. And I don't approve of that. Next up, let's check out these microphones. What you've been hearing so far has been my actual microphone that's mounted up here, but I'm going to go ahead and click a few buttons and let's switch it to that. And the audio you're hearing now is coming out of the dual microphones from the N950p. This is what it would sound like if you were using this on Zoom, Skype, Google Meet, any of those different teleconferencing services and softwares. It's not the best audio that I've heard, but for a webcam, it's pretty good. It's certainly not going to beat a standalone microphone that you're going to pay about $100 or more for. But for what it is, you know, I got no complaints. One thing I do want to do next is change every single setting on here to the default settings and show you what the out-of-box experience is like for everyday users. So I'm going to turn off all of my lights in here. I'm going to put everything back exactly the way it came, and we're going to see what it looks like. But I think we're done listening to it. So here we go. I have set everything back to the default settings. I went to the NexiGo app, I set everything to default, I got back in here to OBS, I took off all of the filters, made sure everything is set absolutely default. This is the out-of-box experience. This is what you can expect to have in a normal, regular situation. The only extra light I've got on in here is not an extra light at all. It's just the light in my ceiling fan. I don't have any ring lights on. I don't have any of my desk lights on. This is it. This is like straight up sitting in your computer room with no accessories, plugging this thing in. This is the video you get. And I think you'll agree, this looks shockingly good. This N950P is like next level stuff. When you compare this to other webcams in this price range, this one really blows them out of the water. Right now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I've still got it set on the 2K resolution. Of course, when I set everything back to the defaults, it made the screen look like this, so I'm not zoomed in anymore. I'm not cropping it to 1080p or anything. This is just like the default. So I'm going to go now and switch it up, turn this into the 4K version, and you'll get a chance to see a little bit more of my office. Here we are at the default 4K resolution. It is recording at 30 frames per second. It didn't really add much to the background here. What I was thinking of is when you switch to 1080p, then it does kind of crop in here on the 4K version, and that's what allows you to pan and tilt and zoom and all of that stuff. So default 4K resolution right here. Yep. Just got my ceiling light on, no extra lights on in the office, no changes in the settings. This is default out of the box 4K. That is sharp. This is the default 1080p. You can see it is a little bit more zoomed, and that's just because now you're able to pan and tilt and all of that good stuff. I like it a lot. Everything about this camera exceeds my expectations. And if you've been paying attention, I have actually been using this camera for all of my videos for the past several weeks now. I am that impressed with it. It has almost replaced my DSLR when it comes to making videos on the YouTubes. And now I'm back to sort of my preferred settings. They're not exactly the way they were at the beginning of the video, because as it turns out, when you edit your settings and you go back to completely defaults and you didn't write down what your settings were, it's tough to find exactly the way you had it before. That's not really a negative, that's like all on me there, but I mean, even then, I still think I got a pretty good video going on right now. So what do I really feel about the NexiGo N950P? I'd say this is probably the best darn webcam I have ever tried. Just the out-of-the-box experience far exceeds all of my expectations for what a webcam can do. Is this going to beat out my DSLR? Not at all. I mean, my DSLR is a DSLR. I paid a lot of money for that. I get awesome 4K at 60 frames per second from that. Then I've got this 1080p camera up here that I've been using for ages. And both of those DSLRs are still going to give me some better quality video overall, but you also got to consider I paid a lot more money for those. If you were on a budget and all you want to do is some streaming or some quick unboxings or just random videos on the YouTubes, this N950P is going to more than meet your needs. This thing is awesome. I absolutely approve of this, and that's not just because they're sponsoring this video by providing the camera for me. I actually mean it. I think you can tell. I've really enjoyed this camera. I have been using it for weeks and weeks in lots of my old videos, so I've got nothing bad to say about it. Maybe the only thing I would change were the two little microphones there. I might want a little bit better quality microphone, but for a webcam, they're not terrible. They're not bad microphones. For like professional video making, which is what some people might want to use this for, the microphones aren't going to cut it. So you got to have something out of the box for that. Overall though, excellent webcam. I will leave a link down in the description. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Like, subscribe, and all that jazz, and I will see you all later. Bye.